spin things. Don't worry, but that was genuine. Now, if I could take your heads and your hearts for a few minutes, sit yourself back, take your fingers off your mouse keys if you're on your computer, put your feet up if you're sitting somewhere at home. I want to take you back 25 years to one night in June at Loftus Road. It was June 8th, to be precise, in 1985. 26,000 people inside the old arena. Over 20 million glued to their TV watching this fight on the BBC. In one corner, a veteran world champion, cunning and still dangerous, and not the old man that people now insist he was. He was in the other corner. Trust me, he's only 33 years of age. The way people talk about it, you'd think he was 57. Anyway, in the other corner, though, with his eyes burning bright and his fists poised for action on the hot night, was Barry McGuigan. Oh, what a night. 15 rounds for the WBA featherweight title. It was all drama and heart-stopping action. You don't believe me? Go and watch an illegal copy of it. Trust me. At the end, under a blanket of men wearing Lacoste tracksuits, Barry emerged and was crowned the champion of the world. Oh, sweet memories. I'm delighted to say that Barry joins me now on the line. Barry, how are you?
I'm great, Steve. How are you?
Yeah, I'm fantastic, fella. I'm going to talk about Carl Frampton in a moment.
Yeah.
Obviously, because he boxes tomorrow night over in Belfast, and there's I've had Carl on the show, and he's got I didn't realise quite the following he's got. In fact,
it's a terrific following.
It's a staggering following. Plenty of people are asking about that question. But Barry, I want you to do what I've just asked the listeners to do. Just put your feet up, lean yourself back, close your eyes, and just take me back to, I'm not sure where to start. Let's start in the changing room at Loftus Road. What can you hear? What can you feel?
Well, I it was building up to it, and we could hear the chants of the people, and we were in the dugout, so we were. You could the ground was, the ceiling was shaking, and we could hear the noise getting louder and louder and louder, and then of course the floor manager came in and said, "Right, let's go." So we went out, and we were supposed to go left, and ABC in America had covered. NBC had covered most of my fights up to then, and ABC came in at the desk to cover the world title fight, but they were unaware of how mad my fans were, and it was shortly after the Heysel disaster, so there were a bit of concerns about the crowd, etc., etc. They did behave themselves very well, but when I came out of the dugout and onto the pitch, ABC had sort of planned for me to turn left and then walk up 20 metres and then unaccompanied, just walk directly into the ring, but they had no idea
what
the
it would
type
be
of
like.
madness that surrounded most of my fights and the fans. So we came out, and the crowd just submerged in around us, and we had to do a beeline straight for the ring, and it took 12 minutes to get to the ring, and American TV had to go to three commercial breaks, and they were going bonkers. But after that, things got slightly more organised, and the fight itself was terrific. I mean, the atmosphere beforehand, the old man singing Danny Boy, and everybody getting behind it was great, terrific. And then the fight itself took off at a ferocious pace because I had to back him up, and he was taller than me and technically better, and to correct you, just he wasn't 33. He was either 29 or 32.
Okay, yeah, there
so
we go.
So we'll say he was 32.
Yeah, listen, that's nice. Either one of those
thought
is
I'd beat
good.
an old man. And then we talk about Bernard Hopkins now at 40 odd. So,
or Mayweather or Pacquiao or Hatton at the moment. They're all that sort of age.
They're all in the veteran stage. But he was a great fighter. 19 defences, and what a remarkable champion he was. And it was a struggle up to about the 6th round, and then I nailed him in the 7th. And that changed the course of the action. Hurt him again in the 9th, had him in desperate trouble in the 13th, but I couldn't get rid of him. He was a great champion.
It's hard to get rid of.
Great survival instincts, and hit me hardest in the 14th round than he hit me in the entire fight. So, great fighter, and a great night, and great celebrations, and coming home to Ireland in Belfast. Then, for the fight was on the Saturday, coming back on the Monday back to my home. My mother's house caught fire that night. There was a big surge in electricity, and the bloody house burnt down. nearly killed my mother and my sister and my aunt Angeline, who was in the house. So by the time they got out, it was like 5 o'clock in the morning. So the whole place they were in a drunken stupor for about 10 days, so it was great.
And the rest. Now, Barry, how many times or how often have you sat down and watched it? Not with people when you've been at functions being paid. I'm talking about you when you're at home with your family, or you maybe when you're on your own. Have you sat down? I couldn't be bothered watching it, to be honest, Steve. I watched it enough times to not want to watch it anymore. And I'm not
into nostalgia so much. You know, it's great to look back and look at things that you've done well in your life, but there's lots of other things happening, lots of things I've got to do. So I try to focus on what's ahead and what I can do in the future, and what you know, the things that we're doing now with the young fighters, and working on the academies, and that's looking great. And I'm in South Leicestershire College, Barry McGuigan Boxing Academy is there. We're in Frampton College in Bristol. We got one in East Berkshire College, and it's onwards and upwards in that department. Slowly, sort of piecemeal, bit by bit, building it up. But it's great interest from the educational authorities, and they really love. We've had a great response to the first programme in Leicester. So,
well, I hope you're working with coaches that have come through some sort of proper coaching system. Because
absolutely,
I was at an event 2 weeks ago called SENI, which is a boxing and mixed martial arts event, and there's about a dozen companies, Barry, that's quotes unquote training people to become boxing coaches. They didn't exist 2 years ago. I'm a bit concerned about them.
We are using ABA coaches, and nobody can work on my programme unless they're an ABA coach. And we don't want to do that, and we don't want to water down the importance and the standard that the ABA set. So I'm working closely with ABAE and Derek Maps and GB, but particularly Paul King and the ABA. We have got ACE, which is Advanced Apprenticeship in Sporting Excellence. They're going through a bit of a tough time at the moment because of the funding cuts all round, but we're going to set up sort of 8 to 10 centre of excellences around the country where kids will get a chance to train just below the high performance boys in Sheffield. So it's a great opportunity.
Still a good level. Barry, so I've got to ask you some questions that have been sent in by I'd like to spend more time, but we lost a bit of time tonight. So there's a few people have been sending some stuff in. I'll ask you a question. This is coming from Leonard Gunning, who sent this in from over in the Republic. First question is, he wants me to ask you, do you feel that Frampton might be under too much pressure because he's associated so heavily with you?
No, that comes with the territory. Cool. Some fighters respond to it, some fighters don't. Carl, I believe, loves the attention, and that's what he's going to get because he's a hell of a fighter. And
another one here from Andy Patterson, not sure where he's writing in from, probably somewhere like Dorset. He wants to know what weight will Carl fight at when he actually challenges or fights for a title?
He's a super bantam. He's boxed. He weighed in today at 8, 11 and 12 ounces, but I deliberately wanted him to come into at near 8 stone 12 as possible because this is a tough kid, Ian Bailey.
Yeah, he's tough. He's certainly for a couple of rounds. It's very and they fancy it. I was with Johnny Eames on Wednesday at a funeral. Yeah. He really fancied it. Now, Barry, this is another one. Now you're going to have to answer this one. Yeah. This is from Doug in Sligo, who's a regular listener. He says, Barry, said in Ireland we're all very proud of you and your achievements. I don't need to tell you that. He said, but one thing you should be ashamed about, okay, is after you won the world title, every kid in Ireland, including myself, was made to eat Barry's jabs, nettle flavoured crisps for about a year, and these were official things that you promoted, and this was an awful thing to put us kids through, and I've been waiting years to ask you for this. What he wants is an apology for you making all those poor children in Ireland eat those dreadful crisps, Barry.
Well, I thought the nettle flavour was the one that was the most attractive. The people talked about them and they loved them, but in fairness, they didn't last. They only went almost like my reign at the top. They lasted but for a short time. But there we are. No, they were good fun. And the nettle flavour was the most popular, and in fact loads of people asked to have more of them made, but there we go. This man obviously didn't enjoy them. I'm sorry, I apologise.
Okay, that's all he's wanted. Listen, Barry, thanks for joining us briefly tonight to talk about A, Pedroza and B, Frampton, and wish Carl the best tomorrow, and I'll get him back on before his next fight.
Keep going, you're doing very well, Steve.
Thanks very much, Barry McGuigan there. Barry McGuigan there joining us briefly on the show.